Imagine two couples living in the same city, the same neighborhood, working similar jobs, and earning almost the exact same income. But somehow, their lives look completely different. One couple sleeps peacefully at night. Their savings quietly grow every month. They travel, they breathe easier, and money rarely becomes a source of stress. The other couple? Constant financial pressure, arguments about spending, a bank account that never seems to recover, and a quiet feeling that no matter how hard they work, it's never enough. Same city, same income, completely different future. So what creates the gap? Because it's probably not what most people think. Today, we're uncovering 12 purchases wealthy couples quietly avoid, while most couples keep spending on them without even realizing the cost. And once you see them, you'll never look at normal spending the same way again. Now, before we begin, this isn't about never enjoying life. And it's definitely not about pretending wealthy couples never spend money. They do. But financially strong couples tend to think very differently about one thing: the long-term emotional cost of a purchase. Because many expensive things don't just cost money, they quietly create stress, pressure, lifestyle inflation, and expectations that slowly become impossible to maintain. And the strange part? Most couples don't even notice it happening. Many couples see a luxury car as a reward, a symbol that says, "We finally made it." And emotionally, that feeling is powerful. You work hard, you want something beautiful, something impressive, something that finally reflects your success. And at first, it feels incredible. The smell of a new interior, the attention, the excitement. But wealthy couples often see something very differently. They see a rapidly depreciating asset attached to years of monthly payments. And over time, those payments quietly affect everything else. Less flexibility, less investing, less freedom to take risks, less room to breathe financially. What's interesting is that many financially strong couples still drive nice cars, but they usually buy them differently, used, kept longer, purchased intentionally, because wealthy couples often care more about ownership than appearance. And that mindset quietly changes everything. And surprisingly, the next thing wealthy couples avoid is something many people believe is actually a sign of financial success. For many couples, buying a bigger house feels like moving up in life. More space, better schools, a nicer kitchen, a safer neighborhood. It feels responsible, even admirable. But this is where many couples quietly become financially trapped. Because the true cost of a home is rarely just the mortgage. It's the furniture, the maintenance, the repairs, the taxes, the pressure to constantly upgrade everything inside it. And slowly, the house that was supposed to create peace starts creating anxiety instead. Wealthy couples often approach this very differently. Instead of asking, "How much house can we afford?" they ask, "How much freedom are we giving away?" Because financially strong couples understand something most people ignore. A home should support your life, not consume it. And here's the dangerous part. Lifestyle inflation rarely feels dangerous in the beginning. It feels exciting, until one unexpected expense suddenly changes everything. And the next purchase wealthy couples quietly avoid is one of the biggest traps in modern relationships. Many couples increase their spending almost every time their income increases. A slightly better apartment, more expensive restaurants, more subscriptions, more shopping, more convenience. At first, each upgrade feels small, harmless, deserved. But over time, something strange happens. The lifestyle grows faster than financial stability. And suddenly, even couples earning six figures begin feeling financially pressured. Not because they're poor, but because their lifestyle quietly became too expensive to emotionally maintain. Wealthy couples often avoid this trap by doing something that feels almost boring. They delay upgrades. They keep living below their means longer than most people expect. And while other couples try to look financially successful, quietly wealthy couples focus on becoming financially difficult to break. And what's fascinating is, one of the next purchases wealthy couples avoid is something most people buy specifically to look more successful. But in reality, it often creates the opposite effect financially. This one is more emotional than financial, because most people don't buy expensive things purely for themselves. They buy feelings, status, validation, recognition, admiration, and social media has quietly made this worse. Many couples now feel pressure to look financially successful long before they actually become financially stable, and that pressure becomes expensive. Luxury brands, constant upgrades, picture-perfect lifestyles, all designed to send one message: we're doing well. But wealthy couples often stop caring about this much earlier than most people realize, because financially secure people understand something powerful. Looking rich and becoming wealthy are often completely different paths, and the couples who quietly build real wealth usually spend far less energy trying to prove it. One of the biggest differences between financially stressed couples and financially strong couples isn't always income. It's how much of their future income is already spoken for. Monthly payments have quietly become normal. Car payments, phone upgrades, subscriptions, furniture financing, buy now, pay later plans, streaming services, memberships people barely use anymore. Individually, none of them seem dangerous. That's what makes them so powerful, because slowly, these small payments begin stacking on top of each other until couples no longer feel financially free. And the strange part? Many people with high incomes still feel trapped because of this exact reason. Wealthy couples often become extremely protective of one thing: monthly flexibility. Because every recurring payment quietly steals a piece of future freedom. And financially strong couples understand something most people ignore. It's not always the big purchases that create pressure. Sometimes it's the hundreds of small obligations silently following you every month. And surprisingly, the next habit wealthy couples avoid has almost nothing to do with money itself. It has to do with comparison. And in modern life, comparison has become incredibly expensive. This trap is everywhere now. A friend buys a bigger home. Another couple starts traveling more. Someone posts luxury dinners online, designer furniture, beautiful kitchens, perfect vacations. And slowly, without realizing it, many couples begin adjusting their lives around what other people are doing. Not because they truly want those things, but because comparison quietly creates emotional pressure. And social media makes this even worse, because most people aren't comparing themselves to reality anymore. They're comparing themselves to curated moments, highlights, filtered success. And financially, this can become dangerous very quickly. Wealthy couples often resist this pressure far better than most people, because they understand that financial peace is usually built privately, while financial performance is built publicly. And those are not the same thing. In fact, many couples who appear wealthy are actually carrying enormous financial stress behind the scenes. Debt, pressure, lifestyle obligations, emotional exhaustion. But quietly wealthy couples? They often look surprisingly normal, and that's exactly why many people underestimate them. Now, the next one is fascinating, because many couples spend money on it specifically to reduce stress. But over time, it often becomes one of the hidden reasons stress increases in the first place. Modern life is exhausting. People are overwhelmed, overworked, mentally drained. So naturally, many couples begin spending money to make life feel easier. Food delivery, last-minute purchases, impulse convenience spending, paying extra simply because there's no energy left. And emotionally, it makes sense. After a long, stressful week, convenience feels deserved, but wealthy couples often become careful about turning convenience into a permanent lifestyle. Because over time, small convenience spending slowly becomes invisible lifestyle inflation. And invisible lifestyle inflation is dangerous precisely because it never feels dramatic. It feels harmless. A few extra charges here, a few shortcuts there, until couples suddenly realize they're spending thousands every month on habits they barely notice anymore. And the hardest part? Stress spending usually creates even more financial stress later, which leads many couples into a cycle that becomes difficult to escape. This one is deeper than most people realize. Some couples don't spend excessively because they love luxury. They spend excessively because they're emotionally exhausted. The stressful job, the constant pressure, the lack of time together, the mental fatigue, and eventually, spending starts feeling like emotional relief. Luxury vacations, impulse trips, expensive weekends, constant rewards to temporarily escape normal life. And for a moment, it works. The trip feels exciting, refreshing, worth it. But then reality returns, and many couples quietly fall into a pattern where they constantly spend money trying to recover from the lifestyle their spending created in the first place. Wealthy couples often think differently. Instead of constantly escaping their lives, they focus on building lives they don't constantly need to escape from. And that shift changes everything. Because real financial freedom isn't just about affording luxury. It's about creating stability, peace, and time without constantly needing recovery from your own lifestyle. And the next one may be one of the most emotionally expensive habits of all, because most couples buy it hoping it will make life feel more successful. But many quietly end up with the exact opposite feeling. One of the strangest financial traps in modern life is buying things for a future version of yourself that never seems to arrive. The dream home gym, the luxury backyard, the expensive boat, the upgraded guest room, the premium subscriptions, the beautiful spaces no one actually has time to enjoy. And none of these purchases seem irrational in the moment, because emotionally, they represent hope. Hope that life will slow down. Hope that success will finally feel satisfying. Hope that someday there will be enough time to enjoy everything being purchased. But for many couples, that day never fully comes. Instead, life becomes busier, schedules become fuller, stress becomes heavier, and the expensive things that were supposed to improve life quietly become reminders of how little time is actually available to enjoy them. Wealthy couples often become extremely intentional about this, because financially strong people understand something surprisingly simple. Not every beautiful thing improves quality of life, and sometimes owning less creates more peace than constantly upgrading everything around you. And now we're entering one of the most dangerous financial habits of all, because this one rarely looks emotional at first. But deep down, emotion is exactly what's driving it. This happens far more often than most couples realize. A stressful week turns into shopping. A difficult month becomes an expensive dinner. Feeling overwhelmed becomes online purchases. Feeling underappreciated becomes treating yourself. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with enjoying money. That's not the problem. The problem begins when spending quietly becomes emotional regulation. Because emotional spending almost never feels irresponsible in the moment. It feels justified. I work hard. We deserve this. It's been a rough month. And sometimes that's true. But when emotional spending becomes a repeated pattern, couples slowly start building financial lives based on temporary feelings instead of long-term stability. Wealthy couples often become very aware of this emotional cycle, not because they never spend emotionally, but because they learn to pause before turning emotions into permanent financial decisions. And that small pause quietly protects an enormous amount of wealth over time. Now, the next one may sound surprising because many people think it's actually the safest financial goal possible. But for many couples, it quietly becomes one of the biggest sources of long-term pressure. This is one of the most overlooked financial traps in modern relationships. Many couples slowly build lifestyles that only work if everything continues perfectly. The same salary, the same workload, the same energy levels, the same economy, the same health, the same constant income. And at first, it feels manageable. But over time, something changes. the lifestyle becomes fragile. One layoff, one medical issue, one economic downturn, one burnout, and suddenly, the pressure becomes overwhelming. Wealthy couples often avoid this by creating something far more valuable than appearance: margin, financial breathing room, lower pressure, more flexibility, more resilience. Because financially strong couples don't just ask, "How much can we earn?" They quietly ask, "How much pressure can we remove from our lives?" And that question alone changes the way they spend, save, and live. And finally, the number one thing wealthy couples quietly refuse to buy is also the reason many financially stressed couples never truly feel at peace. Because this final one isn't really about money anymore. It's about identity. Many couples spend years chasing a picture of success they were never taught to question. The bigger house, the luxury car, the perfect vacations, the expensive lifestyle, the appearance of making it. And slowly, without even realizing it, their financial decisions become more about image than peace, more about looking stable than actually feeling stable. And this creates something dangerous, a life that appears successful from the outside, while quietly creating stress, pressure, and emotional exhaustion behind closed doors. Wealthy couples often learn a very different lesson. Real wealth is rarely loud. It's flexibility, it's breathing room, it's sleeping peacefully at night, it's having options, it's not panicking over unexpected expenses. It's being able to enjoy life without constantly trying to prove something. And perhaps most importantly, financially strong couples understand that freedom often looks surprisingly normal from the outside, because real wealth usually isn't built through constant upgrading. It's built quietly, slowly, intentionally. And by the way, if you and your partner are trying to become more intentional with money, lifestyle, and long-term goals, I actually created a simple couple financial planner plus vision board system inspired by many of the ideas we talk about on this channel. It's designed to help couples organize their financial future visually and emotionally together. If that sounds helpful for where you are right now, you can find it below in the description. At the beginning of this video, we talked about two couples living almost the exact same life. Same city, same income, same opportunities, but completely different outcomes. And now you can probably see why. Because wealth is rarely just about income. It's often about the invisible financial habits quietly shaping everyday life. The purchases that create pressure, the lifestyle inflation that slowly grows unnoticed, the emotional spending patterns that quietly drain peace and stability over time. And the truth is, many wealthy couples don't actually live better because they make dramatically more money. They live better because they learned what not to chase. Because at some point, they realize that real financial success isn't about looking rich. It's about building a life that still feels peaceful after the bills are paid. And in today's world, that kind of peace may be one of the rarest forms of wealth left. Before you go, I'm genuinely curious. What's one purchase you used to think represented success, but now see very differently? And if you enjoy these kinds of conversations about money, psychology, and modern life, consider subscribing, because this channel isn't really about getting rich quickly. It's about building a life that actually feels financially peaceful.